begins with a school playing lacrosse. In the team, a girl by the name of Bridget is playing. She is the captain. A teacher by the name of Jane just came back after years. She looks at Bridget and asks her fellow teacher who is that young girl. Minutes later, Bridget and her mom Candace are called to the principal. He is tired of Bridget, who has been a little bit of a rebel. He then tells her that because she has been failing in other subjects, she may be expelled from the lacrosse team, which is her true passion. For now, she is temporarily removed from the team. Bridget is offended, but the principal reminds her it's her only way to stay in the team. After it, she confronts her mother, who tells her she heard about Bobby, the boy she has been seeing, and she wants her to break up with him, scared that it will stop her to focus on her studies. Later that day, Bridget goes to see Donnie and wonders who will now be the captain of the team. Bobby then arrives. Bridget tells him that her mom doesn't want them to see each other anymore. Bobby doesn't want it to be over, but it seems tonight it's their last night. So the couple makes love. In the middle of it, someone enters the room and catches them. It's Jane, the new teacher. Bobby runs away and Bridget asks her to not report this because she already is deep waters. The next day, the class begins and Jane introduces to everyone as their new teacher. Everyone is surprised their old teacher is pregnant and has been sent to rest. After class, Jane asks to talk to Bridget. Bridget is scared she will tell her mom about Bobby, but Jane hasn't seen anything and will keep her mouth shut. She then takes the failing test of Bridget and changes it to a good grade. Bridget is confused and Jane tells her to come see her tomorrow at 7:45 by her office. We are shown she has pictures of Jane and Donnie in her bag. Tomorrow then arrives and Bridget comes to meet with her. Jane asks her intimate questions about her and Bobby, which makes Bridget uncomfortable. She then gives her a phone to talk to Bobby. Bridget wonders why is she helping her, but Jane replies, "That's what friends do." Later that day, Donnie finds this entire situation sketchy. Meanwhile, Jane is at home cutting Donnie out of the picture and replacing it with herself next to Bridget. The next day, Jane writes the answers of the test in Bridget's book. She finds it strange and asks Jane why did she do it. Jane believes that with a little help she can have anything. She adds that she recognizes Bridget to be different and worthy of great things. She then invites her to the exclusive school party, where she mentions Bobby will be there too. That same night, Bridget is in her thoughts. She then uses Jane's answers to cheat on the test. Minutes later, Donnie comes in and is jealous of her best friend spending so much time with that teacher. Days later, Jane gives the results of the test and Bridget gets an A+ like expected. This really makes her mom happy. She is proud of her daughter. The following day, Bridget goes to see Jane at her office like usual. She asks her for some help with an essay. The days that follow, both ladies get closer, hanging out, getting coffee, going to the movies, going to activities together. They now seem like best friend. If only she knew how dangerous Jane really is. She will find out soon. The school elite party finally arrives and unfortunately Bridget realizes Bobby and another girl are talking too flirty. Jane notices it too, so she offers her apartment for her to bring Bobby in. She does that and Bobby thinks Jane is a little too involved in it. Both then make love and Jane is watching them through a hidden camera. She is sitting in the school's office. Mr. Jeter, another teacher, walks in wondering what is she doing here. She then jumps on him making love and repeating the same things Bridget was saying to Bobby seconds ago. The next day, Jane comes back to her apartment where Bridget is. She gives her the answers for the next calculus test. She stole while making love to Mr. Jeter yesterday. But Bridget doesn't feel it right as she tries studying. But Jane reminds her she needs this test to be back on the lacrosse team. So the hesitant Bridget accepts it, and the next day at Mr. Jeter test, Jane distracts him by text, so Bridget swap the copies. Unfortunately, Donnie notices it. Bridget then comes back to her dorm room. Donnie is there and warns her that Jane isn't good. She adds that she saw her cheating and that Jane will end up ruining her. At this moment, the principal calls Bridget to his office. Her mom is also there. He then congratulates her on the great grades she had on her subjects and he welcomes her back to the lacrosse team. That same night, Candace celebrates with her daughter when she finds birth control pills given by Jane. She immediately confronts her daughter. She forbids her to see Jane ever again. She thinks that woman is sick. but Bridget defends her and storms out. The next day, Jane is re-watching Bridget and Bobby making love while starting to herself when Candace walks in. She confronts her about the pills. It seems both women had rough past and that Jane was responsible for another student who is still therapy. Candace gets aggressive and tells her to stay away from her daughter. But Jane tells her that Bridget needs her more than Candace. Moments later, she takes Bridget aside and wants to help her with her college admission. But for the first time, she refuses her help and even gives her back the phone she gave. The next day, Bridget is hanging out with Bobby, who asks her what's going with Jane. Jane then texts her to come to her apartment ASAP. She does, and Jane wants to help her with college applications. But Bridget refuses her help again. She even refuses her cookies. Jane then loses her mind, breaking a plate, screaming at her, "You can't walk away from me." Bridget gets scared and runs away. The next day, Bridget finds out that Jane lied about Donnie, which pushed the school to transfer her. Later that day, Jane texts Bobby to meet with Bridget's old phone. He does, thinking he is meeting with Bridget. Jane blindfolds him and starts kissing, pretending to be Bridget. She then runs away to a guard in tears, screaming that Bobby assaulted her. He calls Bridget, letting her know what happened and that he has been arrested. So she goes straight to Jane in anger, but Jane threatens her to bring her grades back to bad. Later that night, Candace reveals to her daughter that long time ago, Jane did the same thing to her, changing her grades with cheating. It brought her the life she has right now, so she does owe Jane big and is afraid she will expose her. Bridget then shows to her mom that she has been accepted to a prestigious university thanks to Jane. The mom tells her to go and play by Jane's rule to have a great life in the future. So the next day, Bridget goes to Jane's apartment. She apologizes for what Bobby did and tells her how she understands where Jane is coming from. The days go by and both women are back being best friends. One day, Bridget invites Jane to a lacrosse competition. But when she goes there, Bridget drops the act and says all of her wrongdoing ends her. Jane is shocked and threatens to expose all the cheating she has done. Bridget tells her that she wants her to admit herself to a psychiatric hospital or she will contact the FBI about giving prescription drugs to a minor and even watching her sleeping with Bobby as she found the tapes. Jane jumps on her, both fight, and at the last minute Candace saves her daughter. Moments later, everyone finds out what she has done and the police takes Jane away. Bridget then asks the principal to repeat her year without cheating. The movie ends with Jane in a psychiatric hospital. She seems to have found her next target, another girl who is also a patient there. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other movie summaries we have on our channel.